Scott here, CEO and founder of ResultMaps. On this channel, we help CEOs, founders, and leaders grow their company more profitably with less stress so you can create more value and get better results. Today, we're talking about rocks. This video assumes you already know what rocks are. You're implementing or have self-implemented a system like the Entrepreneurial Operating System. Maybe you're running Pinnacle Guides system, but you're using rocks as your goal-setting technology. We're bringing you some crisp and fresh tips from an EOS implementer, from a former EOS implementer and former Pinnacle Guides coach, and you'll get some insights from myself. I've personally helped implement goal-setting systems for more than 70,000 employees across different businesses. So really working to bring you the best. Let's dive in. Oh, and by the way, stick around till the end. We've got a free bonus for you.
One of the things that we learn with a leadership team is that there are folks on the team who have different ways of solving problems. There are the integrators who are really good at having tough conversations, and they really orchestrate the major functions of the organization. And there's the visionaries who drive culture and really are good with the big relationships. What I challenge the self-implementer with is asking, which one are you? Which way does the rest of your team lean? When you know, and you can get into more depth about how people solve problems and what their instinctual solving strengths. But even if you just look visionary and integrator, the visionary, when they're looking at that list of 30 things that we got to get down to 3 to 7, the question they need to keep asking is, what's great for the bigger picture? Like, what's for the greater good of the organization? What must we do in the next 90 days? When you ask a visionary that question, the list will get smaller, because visionaries are really good at answering that question when they're asked. When they're asked to focus, they're good at that bigger picture. The integrator, however, you got to ask them the question, hey, if we don't get this down in size, are we ever going to get off this topic? Because the integrator wants the ships to arrive, things to be done on time. So you got to ask them the question. They're often just as guilty as adding all the things. You've just got to say to them, hey, we need to simplify and we need to decide. If we don't decide, this whole thing won't move ahead. So can you please prioritize in order for us to decide on the highest priorities? When you frame the language like that around that for the visionary and integrator respectively that I mentioned, it helps them get that list down. And that's just a tip for getting that list down. There's other things you can do. I'm just putting that out there because I really think the way you described, hey, a self-implementing company, maybe they don't have the funds or don't believe it would, for whatever reason, they're self-implementing. Those folks in that situation, I don't want them to get stuck there. I don't want them to get stuck or say, let's do 9. I know EOS says 3 to 7, but I'm going to do 9. And frankly, if I was coaching them, I'd say, I won't die on that hill. If you say 9, I'll be like, let's watch, see what happens. I'll tell you what happens. They won't. You want to get 80% of them done or better. Half of them will be done. or if they got them all done, they'll be like, those were pretty weak. Those were like, I did it in a week. It took me a week or 2 to get that done. That was more like a to-do and not a 13-week objective,
When I did a lot of business operating systems heavily, I only do 4 or 5 clients a year now. But what I found was I'd always make the joke that, hey, the first quarter you do rocks, you're going to bite off way too much you can choose. I'm telling you now, take as many as you want. We are going to meet in the second quarter and you are probably going to get 50% of them done. And they every single time, no, Kyle, we're dedicated to this. We're going to get it done. You don't need to worry about any of this. We are different. So I'd show up the second quarter. Let's check in on your rocks. By the way, I've already know that they've all failed. And you can just see the look on their face of, yeah, you were right. We got half of them done. And why I say this, Scott, and I agree with you, is most businesses approach rocks from an operational efficiency perspective. What are the things that bug us? And let's fix those things. But they still fail to recognize the rocks that truly make the business move forward, that frees up cash flow or frees up sales objectives and allows you to bring in delegation sources so you can do more rocks, because rocks are a function of your time. You're really only going to be able to spend 15 to 20% of your quarter working on rocks, let's be honest. And that number should grow as time goes on. But if you've got a small team, one rock, two rocks really being well done and well defined is really a limit.
People will get lost in the acronym of SMART when it comes to rocks. Now, if you're not familiar with SMART, specific, measurable, attainable/achievable, depending on who you ask, realistic, and time-bound, and you see different derivations of that. This is like at this point, at least a 30-year-old concept. So I've seen this one since the 90s, or at least the early 2000s. It's an old concept is where I'm going. And the idea was to really try to make any goal you set something that you can measure success on. However, you can get lost in the specific and attainable or actionable. When people do get caught up in the SMART situation, they often ignore the customer to cash journey. And a business is really about optimizing that journey so that if $1 goes into one end of your machine, $2 or $10 or whatever it is comes out of the other end. And the way that machine works is you also have customers that go in and they're moving through a journey that results in you keeping $1 after you've distributed that cash. That's the oversimplified way of how it works. However, it's really not too much oversimplified. You can represent that journey usually with 6 to 12 boxes on a page. That's this episode of our tips. If this was valuable, please make sure to hit the like button. It means the world to our team and it helps with that YouTube algorithm. Also subscribe because we put out tips, longer form videos, short form videos on all the concepts you can use to grow more profitably and create more value in your business for yourself, for your customers, for your employees. I mentioned that free bonus. You'll find a link in the description to get access to the same training course that we normally provide in our growth and scale program implementations for our software. If you want help accelerating an implementation of a business operating system, accelerating value creation in your business ahead of an exit, or just growing to the next stage, make sure you reach out to us at ResultMaps.com, schedule a free strategy call, and we'll evaluate whether you could be a good fit for one of our programs and direct you to resources if we're not. We'll see you next time.